got my kingfish cut up into about 1-inch steaks, and I've got the tail here. The tail is the prize, and here's about 2.5 pounds of kingfish. To that, it's time to season. We're gonna go in with salt, and it may seem like a lot of salt, but remember we're making a nice thick gravy with that as well too. We need that Caribbean green seasoning, and if you're new to Caribbean cooking, Caribbean green seasoning is pretty much a puree or a blend of all the herbs along with garlic and seasoning peppers that we like using in all of our dishes, from meat to fish to vegetarian to just about everybody getting a dose of that. And it's a very simple marination process. We're going to marinate this for about an hour. So that was black pepper. We got one more thing to go in there, and that is a tiny bit of curry powder. We're going to go over a bit of curry powder here, but later on we're going to add more. We're going to build on those flavors that we start off now with. All you're going to do is give that a stir. Be gentle because you don't want to break it up. And remember to wash your fish with the juice of a lime or a lemon or something. If all fails, got a little bit of white vinegar, drain it, and then we're going to season it up as we're doing here. One more thing. Yeah, one more thing. Why did I forget that? 2 more things. Like Chris going senile, boy. Boom. We need some onion in there. That onion flavor. Plus, how dare I? We got Scotch bonnet pepper. It's got to be spicy. It's a curry after all. Season everything. If you want, you can take off the seeds and the white membrane around the seeds. That's where most of that heat lives. That's the address. That's the mailing address of that heat. So, you know, you want to avoid that at all cost if spicy is not your thing. I can't believe I almost forgot those 2 ingredients, boy. Where's my head? Like Chelsea Windy Arms. You know what, I'll be honest with you. This is where you want to go in with your hands. It's so much easier to coat all those pieces of fish with that green seasoning and everything else that we added in there. Wear gloves if you need to, and if you just did your little manicure, you're going to get that on the nails. Lady, no, we want that. We ain't trying to stress all you out with no curry colored nails. So use the gloves. And you notice what Uncle Chris is doing here? I kind of massaging the pieces of fish with that green seasoning there, a little bit of curry powder, and we kind of bruising the pieces of onions at the same time, because that is going to add a nice little flavor to things, yeah? And I notice the fish starting to fall apart because it's been thawed out for a while, so I'm just tucking that back where it came from. Set this aside, let it marinate for about 2 hours. An hour is perfect, 2 hours better. Does that even make sense? Anyhow, you know what I mean. We are outside now. I'm taking advantage of the beautiful weather we have here lately. Well, the last couple of days was cold, today it's warm back up. I've got a 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, and we've got the fish, and what we're going to do is sort of shake off the onions and pepper, but leave the green seasoning on there, and we're just going to dust it in that flour like so, and we're going to fry these. And the reason why we're doing it like this, besides this being the traditional way I know it's been done, and I know my forefathers did it, you know, what it does, that flour that we're dusting here will form a crust which will help to soak up some of that curry sauce and goodness later when we make that sauce. Plus, that flour is also going to help thicken up the gravy, because the last thing you want is a thin gravy with your curry fish. I'm just going to continue doing that until all the pieces are all coated. And I do apologize for the noise. We're outside, people are cutting the grass, people are doing what people do on the weekend. I've got vegetable oil, and what we're going to do is we're going to quickly fry these, but we don't want to fry them until they're 100% cooked. We want to fry them until they're about 80% cooked. This way we'll finish cooking it in the curry sauce. And all I'm doing there is shaking off the extra flour. It's about 2.5 minutes on that side, so I'm just going to flip them over. They're already starting to take on a little bit of color. I'm not too worried about the color at this point, but as I said, it will continue cooking in that curry sauce. So all I'm doing is flipping them over, and we're going to cook them on this side for a bit. It's been about 7 minutes in total, so now I'm going to remove the fish pieces with a nice color on it. And we're going to set these aside. I have a wire rack here with some paper towels. Just gonna get rid of all of these here, and then we're gonna jump into actually making that nice curry gravy we're gonna dip these bad boys into. Switch pots on you guys now. So I have the pot that we'll be cooking the actual curry fish in, and all I'm doing is I'm taking some of the oil from the same pan that we fried the fish, because that has a ton of nice fish flavors in there. My heat is on medium, and here we have all that onion and pepper and green seasoning and everything that we marinated the fish in. That is going to be the base for this curry. In the same bowl, you want to put about 3/4 cups of water in here and swish it around to pick up all that remaining stuff. I'm just going to move this around. I'm going to turn my heat down to low because I don't want to burn any of this, and I'm going in with about 6 cloves of garlic that I smashed up. It's been going now for about 5 minutes, and you'll notice I have the pieces of garlic nice and big and chunky. If you wanted to crush that garlic, that's totally up to you. I just like when I'm eating that curry kingfish that those little nuggets of garlic is like pure joy for me. At this point is where we're going to actually go in with the curry powder, and use your favorite curry powder. I'm using my own blend here, and you need about 3 tablespoons in total of that curry powder. Now if you're doing this gluten-free, you can skip the flour step at the start there, or use a gluten-free like a cassava flour or a breadfruit flour or something if you wanted. And do check the label of the curry powder that you use, because sometimes they put flour as a thickener and a filler in a lot of these curry powders, so you got to be mindful of that. Yeah, we're gonna cook this here now for about 3 minutes, just to cook off the rawness out of that curry and to allow the spices which makes up the curry to bloom and give us all that nice flavor that we're hoping to achieve here. Got a nice crust on the bottom of the pot there. Here's where we're gonna go in with that water I was telling you about, that we switched around in the same pot here. Give that a stir, and that's going to sort of deglaze the bottom of the pot, and all that nice curry fond on the bottom is going to release. And I'm telling you right about now, the neighbors peeping over the fence, because you see this is pure niceness here. And according to my mom, this step here is critical. We've got some jeera powder, or what we call no, that was anchar masala, and this is ground roasted jeera or cumin, and that is the key ingredients in putting this curry together. And if you can't source that anchar masala, try those West Indian grocery stores. They usually have it. If you can't source it, double up on the ground roasted jeera or cumin. That is what we call it in the Caribbean. Now this step here is totally mine. I am going in with a large tomato all chopped up finely. That is going to help me get that nice thick gravy that I want. I want to cook this down a bit. Now we will add some more water because we got to put the fish in here. But what I want to do is allow this to cook and let all those flavors come together. And with that tomato, not only is it going to help thicken that gravy later on, I like balance, and the acid from that tomato is going to help balance everything off. I just went in there with just a tiny bit more salt, because remember, we were heavy when we seasoned the fish with salt, right? And in my humble opinion, this step here is one of the most critical. What I'm trying to do is burn off all of that water, and in doing so, it's going to help with that gravy later on, and it will help bring all of those flavors together. So I'm going to turn up my heat now and try to get back to the oil that we started off with. And now you're seeing the separation once I move the spoon around. And on the edges, I don't know if you guys can see, all of the edges, we got that oil that we started off with. Give that one more quick stir. And we got all that nice thickness happening there. That is compliments of that tomato that we added. Now we're gonna go in with water, because we need water to sort of poach the fish in this curry sauce now. I'm gonna bring this back up to a boil, and once it comes back up to a boil, that is 2 cups of water I went in there with. We're gonna toss the pieces of fried fish in there, and that is where that curry niceness is gonna happen. That fish is gonna soak in all of that curry niceness, the flour and everything. Is gonna pull everything in and release. It's pure niceness. Took a couple minutes, but it's back up to a boil now. And it may seem a bit runny at this point, but the whole idea now is to tuck those pieces of fish down inside here, like so. And that's going to absorb some of that curry. We're going to have to flip them over in a second. But the point is, we want a lot of gravy. And this is the trick here, like I said, with that tomato and the flour on the fish. That's going to help give you that nice thick gravy. And you know, whether you're eating this with rice or roti or whatever it is your heart desire, you're going to have a best gravy, man. And you got to show mommy how to do it like this, eh? Tell her Uncle Chris's mommy said do it like this. Nobody ain't trying for long water gravy, you know. It's a nice little thick gravy coming up here soon. After a minute, and this is where you're gonna have to try and be gentle now, because this fish can fall apart on you. After a minute, we're gonna flip them over, because we want the underside to suck up some of that curry niceness in there as well too. And all we're gonna do is allow this to cook for about another 5 minutes, just until we've got a nice thick gravy and the fish has soaked up all that flavor. It's been going now for about 7 minutes. I've flipped the pieces of fish over a couple times already, just to ensure that all that curry sauce gets into every nook and cranny here. I'm going to turn the heat off, but before I do, because I know that the residual heat is going to thicken up this gravy even further. If you are from the Caribbean, especially Trinidad and Tobago, you know shadow benny, aka culantro, aka bandana, is about to make an appearance. Now, if you cannot source this, use cilantro. So culantro is what I just put in there, or shadow benny. If you cannot source that, use cilantro or coriander. Chris here, CaribbeanPot.com. My mom's traditional recipe. Yeah, her grandma and her grandma before that would make this. What's up, soldiers? Chris here, CaribbeanPot.com. Always a pleasure having you guys here in the kitchen with me, just putting the finishing touches on what I call the simplest, the easiest, the most ridiculously flavorful curry shrimp you'll ever make. Stay tuned, you're gonna love this one, man. And you see that gravy? You see that gravy? Alright, stay till the end. I've got 2 tablespoons of olive oil in my little pot here. And I will be using a metal spoon. So those of you that freak out, you can turn off the video at this point right away. And this is something very quick. The heat is on low, eh? Quick, fast, tasty, all them kind of elements. We've got an onion, diced up really small, and that is a medium onion. I've got here 4 cloves of garlic that I crushed. Move that around. And if you want to use coconut oil, if you want to use vegetable oil, you can certainly use any of those. I like cooking with olive oil. I'm going to let that sweat down there for about 3 minutes. And while it does that, I have here 2 habanero peppers. I like it spicy. I like my curry shrimp spicy. So I'm rocking 2 habanero peppers, seeds and everything. Now remember, if you have scotch bonnet pepper, if you have jalapeno, whatever pepper you have and you like using, be mindful to wash your hands with soap and water after. The onion is nice and soft. You can see that garlic just slightly started to take on some color. Here's where we're going to go in with that Caribbean green seasoning. And my Caribbean green seasoning is pretty much a blend or a puree. I keep saying this time and time again whenever we do videos. It is a puree of all the herbs. And just about every home in the Caribbean have a version of this. So any sort of herbs you like using in your dishes, along with garlic and pimento peppers, and it's just the body of just about every dish we do in the Caribbean. And yeah, our French brothers got a piece, and our Spanish sisters got sofrito. You know, the English-speaking Caribbean, we do just green seasoning. That is the way we call it, yeah? I'm just going to give this another minute. I'm going to crank up my heat to medium now. Time for some anchor masala. And if you visit your favorite Caribbean grocery store, you'll find that is a teaspoon of that. And it has these sort of notes of dry roasted cumin or jeera. If you can't source that anchor masala, let's just give it, it has a smokiness to it as well too. And most masala or curry dishes will have that in there just to pull out a whole bunch of different layers of flavor. If you can't source that anchor masala, you can use ground roasted cumin or jeera. Now it's time to add your curry powder. 2 tablespoons of curry powder. And we're just gonna give that a good mix. We want to sort of fry or toast both the curry powder and the anchor masala, to sort of waken up all the different spices which makes up those two elements there, yeah? So my heat is on medium. As I said, I want to give this about 2 or 3 minutes. I don't want to burn anything. And you'll notice a couple things. It will get darker, as you're noticing there, and it will start to clump together. That is totally normal. I'm going to turn my heat back down to low for a minute and just let that do its thing there for a couple more minutes. I ended up adding another tablespoon of oil because I really want this to cook out. We've got a nice paste here now. So we've bloomed all the spices which makes up that curry. Now it's time to cook out the rawness of the curry. And to do so, we need water. 1 cup of water. Yeah, it looks like a lot of water, but turn the heat back up to medium. It may look like a lot of water at this point, but we're creating a sort of a gravy or a base to sort of poach the shrimp. And shrimp is notorious for cooking, for cooking too fast and for being overcooked, to be honest with you. And this is the sort of step we will take to prevent that from happening. Just want to sort of scrape the bottom of the pot here. And I'm telling you, the kitchen is already smelling wicked, yeah? I'm going in with sea salt. You can use whatever salt you're comfortable using. And we need some black pepper. And to help give this some body, well, even more body, because remember, we've got all that onion in there, the garlic and everything else. It's going to give it that body. I want a nice thick gravy sauce. I'm going in with 1 tomato diced up really fine. And besides giving it body, it helps to balance all the flavors. The acidity in that tomato, yeah, it will add a lot to this dish. So we're just gonna give that a little quick stir. We bring that up to a boil and we're gonna reduce it. Turn it down to medium and reduce it down for about 5 minutes. And you're wondering about the shrimp? Well, the shrimp, it's already been peeled and deveined. I don't know if you guys can see there. White on white is not the best sort of color, but peeled and deveined. I'm using big shrimp. You can use small shrimp. You know, some people claim that small shrimp is sweeter. Yo, if you're accustomed with small thing, well, you know, you rock your small thing. I like it big and thing, all right? So we bring it up to a boil and reduce it. You'll appreciate the flavors and the scent and everything you're getting from this. Here's where now we're gonna go in with those shrimp. Peeled, deveined, washed with lemon juice. And if you're wondering, Chris, where's the seasoning? Remember, we started off with that green seasoning in there, eh? So whoever wants to complain about lack of seasoning, check yourself. And speaking about complaint, I have had complaints about the condition of my stove lately. Chris, your stove dirty. Well, listen, Linda. That dirty stove means people eating good. There's all kind of food cooking here. And it's kind of like, don't come around here no more. Hit the road, Jack. When it comes to Uber Eats. Uber Eats ain't showing up here no more. It's people, Israel food cooking here. That's why that stove is looking kind of dirty according to you. But say what? It will get clean. But we eating good. Yeah, the whole idea, the reason why we did it like this is not to overcook the shrimp. So at this point, we do not want to overcook that shrimp. So all we need is about 3 minutes, and then we'll shut the stove off. The residual heat will continue cooking and bringing down that there. And remember I told you guys about that sauce, that gravy? You'll have your white rice or your roti or whatever it is you have there ready for a nice little something, yeah? 1 more minute and then we'll finish things up. Sup, soldiers? Listen, if you enjoy this recipe, I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and click that bell notification thing. If you've made the recipe, take a picture and send it to me. Email address down here. I mean, trying to tell people the email address, then bots will take the address and do all kind of thing with it. And tag me on Instagram at Caribbean Pot. I really appreciate you guys, and thanks for being in my kitchen with me today. Irie. And finishing up just means we're gonna end with some more flavor, and that flavor is courtesy of, boom, we've got some cilantro. If you have shadow benny, roughly shadow benny. That is also called coriander. I know my European friends, they call that coriander. We're just gonna, you know what, I'm gonna turn the stove off, boom bam, and I'm gonna go in. Yo, my Guyanese brothers and sisters call that wiri peppers. The rest of the Caribbean, we call it coffee pepper, because it has the sort of shape and color of coffee beans. And just like that, Uncle Chris just dropped on you guys there the easiest, simplest, tasty curry shrimp you'll ever have. Now remember, we added these wiri peppers at the end because when you eat in, pow pow, you burst them open and yo, it's pure fire, pure niceness. If you have bird's eye pepper, you can do the same thing. And we have Zaire just making noise as usual, just having to, yo, the boy just like to be known, boy, like to be heard, like to be seen, all kind of thing. Sooner or later, he'll have his own little YouTube channel. But for now, enjoy. Irene?